shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
Between 66 and 325 AD, there is little information on the early church. After the death of St. Paul, the curtain falls on the act that is church history. In 325, the Council of Nicaea marked the beginning of the early church phase. Christianity was made the official religion of Rome. The Ebionites disappeared at that time, around the same time as the Council of Nicaea. They lived in and around Judea and Palestine. The Ebionites was the group that the scenes developed into after the siege of Masada. The Ebionites' name means the poor. This reflects in the Christian monk tradition of vows of poverty. The Ebionites were seen as bringing Christians to a more authentic Jewish practice. Some saw the Ebionites as more faithful to the teachings of Jesus. After the crucifixion, the Ebionites accepted James as the head of the church. James was the head of the church of Jerusalem after the apostles dispersed. The Ebionites held a prominent place there. James was killed by the Romans shortly after. At this time, the Ebionites were led by Simon Magus. Simon introduced many heretical ideas. The Ebionites clearly followed the Mosaic law, much like the Samaritans. New converts had to stop eating non-kosher foods and get circumcised. Simon Magus tried to buy the gifts of the Spirit earlier on in the gospel. He was rejected and went back to his old ways. Simon Magus spread the idea that Jesus escaped the crucifixion and Mary Magdalene. This was also an Ebionite doctrine. They denied the virgin birth and the resurrection also. Simon Magus' only competition was Paul. So as a result, in recent years, Paul has been attacked viciously. He was called a Roman spy, a heretic, and a fraud. Paul believed that the Gentile Christians didn't have to take on Hebrew practices. They could still eat what they ate and did everything else the way that they did, but they just needed to accept Jesus and love each other. This angered the early church leaders, but it made the Ebionite leaders furious. So they went on and begrudgingly accepted the Gentiles, but they kept to their goal of attacking Paul. Personally, I used to believe these things about Paul not being good, but I saw that Paul held to the gospel more so than any other New Testament figure. He was all about accepting others and about love, and the important thing about them accepting the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ.